Hello there. Hope you're doing well. I'm Hardleg Joe, if ya didn't know, and today I'd like to take a moment to talk to you about school choice. If you're unfamiliar with that phrase, it refers to a movement of sorts that's been spreading across America lately. It involves people pushing for laws and programs that are supposed to give parents more choice in what school their children attend, which seems like a pretty good thing. I mean, I like having choices. More choices means more freedom, more options to pick from. And we all know that public schools aren't doing so great right now, so having some alternatives should be a good thing, right? Well, it certainly seems that way at first glance, but here's the thing about choice, like in general. You only really want choices when it comes to matters of opinion. Like, what's the best food? There's not really an objective answer to that. For me, it's probably fried chicken, but everyone has different tastes. The best food for you might be something entirely different, which is why it's important to have options to pick from. I pick what I like, you pick what you like, everybody's happy. And the same is true of, clothing, haircuts, hobbies, movies, music, any kind of entertainment, really. If the purpose of a thing is personal enjoyment or self-expression, then there's not going to be one option that fits everyone. The correct choice is down to a matter of opinion, it's personal taste. But not everything is like that. Some things aren't matters of opinion. Some things are purely practical. Take the utilities, for example. Running water and electric power. What's the best kind of electricity? The kind that works. The reliable and efficient kind. That's true no matter who you are. You know how I prefer my water? Clean and drinkable. And I'm willing to bet it's the same for you. When it comes to things that mostly serve a practical purpose, like the utilities, all that matters is that they function, and they function well. There are no flavors here to choose from. The only options you could possibly have, the only choice you could make, is between different tiers of quality. And we can measure quality scientifically. Like if we have to choose between 4 glasses of water, we can analyze how clean each one is and determine which is the best for everyone. It's not about personal taste, it's a measure of objective quality. We know for a fact this one is the best. And if that's the case, then why would you want a choice? Are you going to choose the dirty, undrinkable water? Would you prefer the less clean option? Of course not! No one would! Which means it's a fake choice. It seems like you have options, but since most of them are objectively bad options that you wouldn't want to pick, that feeling of freedom is just an illusion. And while I won't say fake choices are evil or anything, they are pointless. At least if you're a consumer. Like if you're the one buying and using the product, then fake choices are a waste of your time at best. You always want the highest quality possible, so the rest of the options are just useless. The only reason you pick a worse one is either because you're confused about the choices, or you can't afford the best option. Which brings us to the only people who want lower quality options available. The only people who like fake choices. And that's the sellers. The businesses making the product. Because offering a fake choice is an effective way to make more money without doing any extra work. Think of it this way. If there's only one option for drinking water, then it's expected to be high quality and cheap. The standard for water in America, the default option, is clean, drinkable, and easy to afford for everyone. If it doesn't meet all of those qualities, it is unacceptable. But if companies can lower the standard, if they're allowed to offer a less clean option, well then they can justify charging more for the alternative. Once that bar has been lowered, once the default choice becomes dirty water, then the properly clean stuff suddenly becomes a luxury. What used to be just regular old water you'd expect to come out of the faucet is now deluxe, high quality, premium water, which you can expect to pay extra for. Now some will call this clever marketing. I call it a scam, a lie, a deceptive waste of time and resources that hurts working class Americans and contributes to rising inflation. Honestly, I could make a whole video just about these kinds of toxic business practices and how they're responsible more than anything for slowly degrading our economy. And maybe someday I will do that, but for now, let's bring this back to the topic of schools. The point I was making is that you want choices when dealing with matters of opinion, but you don't want choices when dealing with matters of objective quality. Which begs the question, which category do schools fall into? Are they a matter of opinion, or are they a matter of quality? It's quality. We put kids in school for practical reasons, to ensure that our citizens are intelligent and skilled, so they can make smart decisions and be productive members of society. And we can measure objectively how well schools accomplish that goal. It may not be as straightforward and scientific as measuring the cleanliness of water, but whether or not a school succeeds or fails is not a matter of opinion. Especially when you're talking about grade school, where the main point is to teach basic fundamental knowledge. Like, we can measure how literate people are. We can rate their ability to do math, test their knowledge of history, science, and geography. And we can also measure how well they succeed after graduating, using any number of metrics. And altogether, these factors can determine the objective quality of their education. And while you may think that a lot of that quality is determined by the skill of the teacher or whether or not their teaching style fits the taste of the students, most of it comes down to more concrete factors than that. Things that are directly affected by funding. The schools that perform poorly tend to have crumbling infrastructure, outdated resources, teacher shortages. In the same way that no one wants dirty drinking water, no one wants to go to an overcrowded school that doesn't have heating or air conditioning. No student wants to spend their time in a building that is literally falling apart, being taught by overworked and underpaid teachers who have so many students that they can't possibly give them all the attention they need. These conditions are objectively bad, and they make it hard for anyone to learn, no matter who the teacher is or how they teach. Long story short, education is a matter of quality, which means your only choice when it comes to school is between a high-quality one and a series of shitty ones. It's a fake choice. And if you're a parent or someone who cares about the education of our nation's children, then you do not want that choice. The only people who do want it are those who stand to make money from all this. Wealthy investors who have a stake in private, for-profit schools. They are the ones funding the school choice movement. And unsurprisingly, many of those same people are responsible for the poor quality of our public schools to begin with. The same billion-dollar organizations that are pushing for vouchers and charter schools and school choice have been working since the 80s to reduce funding for public schools. Because just like my example from before, if they can lower the quality of the default option, if they can make public schools fail at their job, then they can justify charging a lot more money for the alternative. It's a scam. All the talk about choice is just an underhanded trick to make money from privatized schools, by selling them as the deluxe, high-quality option for education. But make no mistake, there is nothing special about those schools. In many cases, they aren't even better than the public ones. They just expel the students who perform badly, so their success rate seems high by comparison. But even the ones that are genuinely better, they aren't running on some secret system that the public schools can't copy. Their success is entirely a matter of funding. They can afford modern facilities with up-to-date equipment. They can afford to hire a ton of teachers, which results in small class sizes where the students get individual attention. To put it simply, they have the money to do all the things that should be the default for every school. And that's an injustice regardless of who you are. If you're poor or even middle class, like, the evil is obvious. Your children's education is being purposely sabotaged so some rich investors can make an extra buck. But even if you're one of those people wealthy enough to afford private school, you're still being screwed over by this, because you're essentially being price gouged. Remember, private schools aren't actually high quality. They're what the standard should be. They only seem top tier because they're being compared to public schools, institutions that have been massively defunded for years now. The standard option has been ruined so that a company can charge you for the premium version. It's a trick. It's a scheme to make you pay out the ass for an education that should be essentially free. As long as we continue to defund public schools, the price of private school will remain artificially inflated, ensuring that even the wealthy are being milked for every cent they have. It's a problem for everyone. And many of these so-called school choice laws are designed to make that problem even worse. Regardless of what their supporters say the goal is, regardless of what flowery language they use to describe it, the end result here is always the same. Tax money that should go to public schools is instead funneled into private ones. The gap between public and private grows even wider until all but the poorest Americans are forced to buy into this overpriced scam. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and a majority of Americans, across the board, get a worse education, one that leaves the next generation even more ignorant than the last, which is going to negatively affect you even if you don't have any kids of your own. Nothing good will come of this. You do not want to live in a society full of ignorant, stupid, poorly educated people. And the solution here is simple. Just fund public schools. The only reason they aren't doing well is a lack of resources. It's time to reverse the direction that these private school grifters have been trying to push us down for almost a generation now. It's time to demand a high-quality education for everyone. Make that the default option in this country, and stop letting for-profit schools fleece money from parents who just want the best for their kids. And while we're at it, keep in mind everything I said about choice, because that narrative is already being used for several other practical utilities. Whether it's internet service or medicine, the post office or prisons, businesses have spent the last 30 years slowly creeping into our institutions, paying politicians to make things worse so they can sell us the solution. But then, I think that's a topic for another video. For now, I think I've said everything I want to say on school choice, so I'll just leave it at that. If you like what I had to say, like the video, consider subscribing. This is a small channel, any support would be appreciated. If you know anyone who would find this useful, consider sharing it around. The more people who can hear this message, the better. And you know, if you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, anything you'd like to know my thoughts on, leave them down in the comments. I do actually read those. Regardless of what you do, thank you again for watching. And until next time, stay safe out there.